Konnichiwa, bitches. This is the commish coming at you with the off-season edition of the Ultimate Man's League podcast. Joining me, as always, is Connor. Connor, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic.
Connor, we have a lot to get to today. So I will go ahead and turn my screen share on right away. Some state of the franchise, some free agency news, and a whole hell of a lot of fun. And that's being stupid, so we'll do this. We looking good, Connor?
Looking good.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and get started with the Ultimate Man's League champion, Queef Wellington. As we all know, Carlo won the league last year on the strength of his wide receiver group. He's done his keepers for the most part. He said he still might make a couple more drops, but for now, this is what we're looking at. So what we'll do is we'll go position by position. Talking about strengths, weaknesses, and what he ought to do in the draft, and also any free agency news that affects the players on this team. So Connor, why don't you get us started off with Carlo's quarterback situation? He's got Eli Manning in round 8, and that's it.
Yeah, so basically there's not much. I think Eli, it seems like he's going to play the whole year, I would assume, unless they draft somebody. I don't think they're going to that high. That's going to be worthwhile for throw out right as the season starts. So I think he's going to play another whole year. He's got Beckham Jr. It's a nice combo, having the same connection on the team. If they're hot, he's going to get, maybe 2 touchdowns in a game, which would be awesome for his fantasy output. But, he's got to do something because that's a glaring hole on his team. I think he's always been worried about that. And it's more worrisome than in past years at this point. Still having Manning and then not have anything else still. It's pretty sad.
So do you think Carlo should finally get in on some of these rookie quarterbacks, or do you think he should try to get another veteran that can help him win in 2018? Maybe one of each and kind of punt on some of these other positions. But what would you do if you were in his shoes?
I would say because he kept Beckham in the first round and the fact that he has McCoy and Riddick going right now, I'd say he can't afford to take a big-time quarterback, even though it's probably better for his makeup of his team. I think he needs to grab a running back at 2 and at 4. I don't know that there's possibly not going to be a quarterback that is like that. So I think his route is going to have to be maybe, take a real jump at somebody in the 6th or wait until the 10th round when he has another pick again and see if he can get something there for a rookie. But I think he's got to go rookie.
I think he's going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball here. He's kind of pigeonholed. Okay. At the running back position, he's got LaShawn McCoy, who's been great, but is turning 30 this summer, and the one-dimensional but very effective Theo Riddick. Is this a position that obviously running back is, the position that drives this league? Is he in real trouble here?
I like to say he is, but apparently the makeup of his team where he's so wide receiver heavy actually works. And tight ends, he's got some good tight ends. He proved me wrong last season and beat me in the championship without that running back group that I had. So, apparently you don't really need to be that worried in his case, apparently. But I think he definitely needs to grab a running back at 2. Make sure you have at least 3 capable guys. I'm not sure that Riddick might have some trouble now with Blunt in the picture. Not that he took the role that Riddick has, but if they still try to throw out any last prayer on Abdullah doing something, it could affect Riddick, and hopefully they're not stupid and they go with Blunt and Riddick as the 2 backs, but we never know what the Lions are thinking.
That's true. They seem to like to go with a multiple running back situation every year, even when one guy's clearly better than the other.
But he's got McCoy. McCoy is always going to be great, at least until he retires. And I don't see that changing this year. I think he'll have another great season. He's got to hit a wall eventually, though, and hopefully it doesn't sneak up on him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think LaShawn McCoy is weird guy, like as a human being, but damn good NFL running back. At wide receiver, this is just easily the best receiving core in our league by far.
Yeah.
And Odell Beckham, Julio Jones, both top 5 guys. Keenan Allen's top 10 guy. Adam Thielen and Devontae Adams are top 20 guys, and then Josh Doxson is a nice prospect. Thielen did have a quarterback change, as did Doxson, but Thielen had a breakout season last year alongside Case Keenum. Is he going to repeat that with Kirk Cousins this year?
I think he is.
So you think he's the real deal?
Not necessarily as the real deal. I just think that we've never seen Cousins with an actual wide receiver core like this at this point. I mean, he's had some good players, but it's never really been as systematic as this is. I think he's going to love having all these. He's going to have Rudolph in the red zone with apparently Diggs. They love throwing to Diggs in the red zone and not Thielen, even though Thielen's taller. But Thielen just hits his routes perfectly. He always knows how to get open, and those kind of guys just don't go away, in my opinion. He may not have as successful of a season, but I think he's kind of imprinting himself. Not that he has the same kind of mold as, say, like a Nelson or a Edelman kind of guy. I mean, he's bigger and a little bit more athletic in a way, but he's just one of those guys that knows where to run. And I think that once you figure that out, you don't go away in the league. I think he's going to stay.
Interesting. I'm actually going to say that I don't think Carlos should do anything at wide receiver in the draft. Literally not even drafting a rookie. Like just go and get players at these other positions and be done with it.
And that's the give and take, though. I mean, yeah, you say he doesn't have to worry about wide receiver, but he's very desperate at some other positions, so it's not like he's really doing him any favors in that regard. But
yeah, I would say,
especially when your first and third pick are wide receivers, that really takes away some of your top talent. I mean, I think in my case, I would hate having Beckham there at 1. I get why he did it, and I get why he kept him, but it's just a huge waste to have a wide when you already have Allen, Adams, Thielen, and Jones, and then you still have Beckham there at 1. I've always hated that decision being made. And I'm still going to hate it, even though it probably will be beneficial to him. And I mean, Beckham, Jones, and whoever the third guy is going to be, probably Allen. I mean, you can't beat that. But at the same time, I just think it's just blocking him from having a complete team.
Yeah, he needs to make the best possible use of his draft picks here. He needs a couple of hits. And then at tight end, Zach Ertz, I believe, was the number 1 tight end in fantasy last year, and Austin Hooper had moments, but really wasn't, much more than the tight end everyone else has on their team. Mm-hmm. With his holes at running back and quarterback, though, I don't know that he can spend a whole lot of draft capital at this position. He might just go with these two and maybe someone off waivers. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of feel like keeping Hooper at that 7, it's just a little too high for me. I think it would have been better to have been a free pick for him to grab something to help him out. But right. I get why he kept it to have the 2, You always want to have at least 2 to feel good about, you could fix it, but you still have something there. Kind of like me with Cooks right now. But I think Ertz is just like such a lock that doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. He's just so good. I mean, he caught that last second bullshit 10-yard pass to make me lose the championship last year for when they set up to hit a field goal to win. But so I'm a little bitter, but he's a really good player.
That is for sure true. So what's Carlo's outlook going into this next season?
I think he's going to be what he was last year. He's going to be that little cold sometimes, but when he gets hot, he's just on fire. His team can win lots of games. At the same time, we saw the best scenario and the best outcome of that kind of team last year. For him to do that again, I think he needs a lot more consistency, and I don't think he has it right now.
Right. Would you mind talking about the Kirk Cousins and Alex Smith effect on these 2 wide receivers?
I actually love Smith for Doxson. I feel like, and because of what's left around him, I think, with Paul Richardson there, he's not going to be as big of a threat as some people might say he is. I think Doxson has a real good shot to kind of take over that wide receiving group. And I think, although Smith is not as good of a quarterback as Cousins, he's a lot more routine. He's a lot more, we run this play, we do it by the playbook. I listen to my coach kind of guy, whereas Cousins likes to make the big play. And I think that although you're not getting the same quarterback you had in Cousins again. I think it's very schematic, and maybe they can open something up for Doxson to have his breakout year. So I think I like Doxson's outlook, even though he's got a slightly decrease in his quarterback play. But as for Cousins in Minnesota, I think there could be issue there for Thielen in particular. You know, maybe it doesn't. He finds some other guy to get out with. I know he likes to throw to particular wide receivers or to read a lot. He kind of picked guys every once in a while, so I don't know if maybe he'll be out of the loop. But I think it can only be good because, I mean, Cousins is going to greatly improve the team. They're going to have that win mentality. They really feel like they have the pieces now. So I think they're going to put up a really great season.
Awesome. So that'll do it. I think Carlo probably makes the playoffs again, but he really needs to fix this quarterback and running back position. Otherwise, I don't think he's going to be back in that championship game. However, that receiving group is
so really it's going to be a risk. Yeah. Never going to feel good going up against Carlo.
Let's see. Moving on to the next state of the franchise, I think we should go with my brother Tim. Did his keepers, had some interesting choices here. Quarterback's a real strength for this team. Maybe he could be a trade partner for Carlo. What do you think here?
Yeah. I mean, having Stafford and Garoppolo as your two, and then having Dalton as kind of the bench guy, I think is a great setup. I personally only have one quarterback on my team right now, so I'd also love to have one of those quarterbacks maybe.
Oh, so you're cutting Jameis Winston.
At the moment, I haven't done my keepers yet, Doug, so we'll see. But I think I might drop him and see if I get him back again or find something better. He's definitely still on my radar to redraft. I just at 2, I think I have him at 2. It's a little high to me.
True.
But it's not about my team. It's about your brother's team. And yeah, I think quarterback, he's looking fantastic. All these years of keeping Garoppolo have finally paid off. Not exactly the scenario we probably thought it was going to be, but I think him in San Francisco is a great match, and I think he's going to have some great seasons ahead of him.
Yeah, for sure.
And then having Stafford as your guy right now, you can't do much worse.
Yeah, I mean, if Garoppolo was a flash in the pan and isn't the real deal, he's still got Dalton to play that flex position for him.
Mm-hmm.
This team is stacked, frankly, at the quarterback position, and I don't think he should do anything in the draft. Focus on these other positions. Speaking of other positions, you've got at running back, he had a great rookie season from Leonard Fournette, finally hit that elusive first-round draft pick. And then he's got TJ Yeldon as a handcuff, and then Deion Lewis, who's now with the Titans. Now, Fournette, do we think is going to be good again?
Fournette's been a guy that I personally have not been a fan of, but I won't deny that he has all the tools to be a top 5 running back in this league. And I think
he's not a little Weasley pass catching running back, so of course you don't.
Yeah, so I don't like him. But and because of his attitude and the injuries kind of piled up a little bit last season.
It's true. I think he plays a little bit too physical for his own good sometimes.
Yeah. So I think while he's going to be great, I think he may have maybe not the longevity of your, that guy you want in the first round. But I think he has the right handcuff, and Yeldon, he seemed like he was going to be the guy that was going to take over. It looked like for a minute he wasn't going to be, but towards the end of the season, I think he had a couple of really good games. So I don't hate the handcuff there. And I mean, Deion Lewis there was a steal. I forgot how low he went down to finally get drafted. That's a great pick for Deion Lewis. I think he's going to fit in okay in Tennessee, not necessarily fantastic, but I think he's going to get some of those touches away from your running back there in Tennessee, Doug.
I don't know what else they need to see from Derrick Henry to just give him the fucking keys.
Well, I mean, apparently they want Deion Lewis to do a little bit. I think
he's like the best player on their entire team, and they're just like, nah. But Deion Lewis is going to do those pass catching things that Derrick Henry doesn't do. Mm-hmm. That is until he gets hurt, like he always does, and then Derrick Henry will just take over finally. That's the plan. That said, this group is brutal.
He definitely needs
risks all over the place. He's got a backup running back. I think he needs to invest heavily at the position, just like a lot of teams do. So you're going to see these running backs fly off the board. in the beginning of the draft. I think Leonard Fournette, in the right, if everything breaks right, he could win a rushing title. If everything breaks wrong, he could, miss half the season. So I think he's a running back one easily in our league. And I think Lewis will be startable when healthy. But he needs at least 3 more running backs in the draft, I'd say.
And what's unfortunate is if you look at that cluster right at those first couple of rounds that your brother has, he's not going to get that running back. He could get one, but that's not going to be enough. I think to have a core. Yeah. And, I see why he kept what he did. But, I mean, Fitz and Bryant there, the two of them together, I think, make up a wide receiver one. But is it worth having all those high picks taken away from what you could get at a running back?
Yeah, I'd say probably maybe keep one of those guys, not both.
I mean, but at the same time, he doesn't have much for wide receiver either, so I get it.
Yeah, we'll get into wide receiver here. I really don't like this Chris Hogan keeper. It's in round 12, and he'll probably end up being worth that in that Patriots offense. But he's kind of a replacement level talent. I think you can find Chris Hogan on waivers in week 4. I think Chris Hogan he'll have his weeks, but he's very inconsistent. He's an injury risk. It's a big theme with this team. He's an injury risk, and I mean, I guess if you're not feeling great when you have those 2 older guys, you want to keep somebody. But I think there's going to be plenty of rookie wide receivers to draft. I just don't like Chris Hogan. I don't like a lot of these late round keepers. I really don't like the TJ Yeldon keeper. Just I don't like the idea of keeping a handcuff. No one else is going to draft TJ Yeldon.
True.
And I especially don't like keeping a kicker.
Yeah, never a kicker defense.
Especially one coming off an injury-plagued season where he wasn't as effective as he normally is. He still has time to drop these guys, but that's just what I think. I think there's some attachment we've seen with Tim in the past where he likes his players a lot and doesn't like to cut them loose for draft picks. I think there's a little bit of that showing up this year as well, despite the fact he made the playoffs last year. He's also got no tight ends. Would you break down his tight end position for us, Connor?
There's none.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah. So draft a couple tight ends. Go and pick up, Mike Gesicki or Hayden Hurst. Get one of these rookies so you can just kind of solve this position, make a trade with somebody who has 3 I don't know, Tim. Just go ahead and do a lot of things. I don't know how this team gets back to the playoffs. He's really strong at quarterback. He's got a running back 1, but that's really where the compliments end. Like his wide receiver group is iffy at best, and he's got no tight ends. What do you think this team finishes at next year, Connor?
Well, I think the big trick is figuring out there's that huge blob right in the middle of just pick after pick after pick. And there's a way you could fill up some of that roster space with those picks. And if he does it right, I'd say he has a shot at being 500 to possibly in the playoffs. But if he does it wrong, which is very easy to do with those middling picks.
Oh yeah, we all do. Yeah.
We could see him completely regressing and going back to 2 or 3 wins.
So if we think Tim is not a playoff team, would you cancel these keepers on like Larry Fitzgerald, Des Bryant, Chris Hogan, TJ Yeldon, Dan Bain? Like, would you just cancel these for draft picks if you were in Tim's shoes?
It depends on how he feels. If he feels like he has enough with Fournette and these great quarterbacks to still make it back, then keep going with it. But if you think that it's not enough, then I would suggest, that Fitzgerald and Bryant cluster there, I'd get rid of it. Maybe you can just get them back again if they're there. And if not, maybe there's a young guy that you see that maybe that could be the next piece that you need when you're rebuilding.
Right. I agree. I think this is probably, at the end of the day, I think this is probably like a 5-win team. I think 5-6 wins, like in that thing. Like I'll be doing playoff scenarios in week 12 or whatever, and they'll still be like technically in it, but not really. I think that's kind of the situation.
I'll say that the saving grace for Tim with this setup is his quarterback's going to keep him from going way low in point totals.
That's true.
So he's going to get some wins out of that. He's going to have a more consistent total. He's going to stay, he's not going to fall under 100 a lot, in my opinion, with those quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Depending
you're
on
not
who he
gonna
drafts.
look at this team because there's an easy win.
Mhm.
Just because of those quarterbacks.
Yep.
Like we've all. I mean, you had a team like that for years
Yep.
with Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, and it was like even when the rest of your team hadn't quite caught up yet, it was like, okay,
They
well,
just
we'll
get
look
me
at
60, 70 points
yeah, that's 60
every
points
week.
right there. It's like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll move on from Tim and talk about our last one here, which is the Rabbit College Rampage. Had a bit of a down season, missed the playoffs for just the second time in team history. My dad's team is always competitive, but last year was a little bit of a down year. At the quarterback position, he's got Cam Newton and Tyrod Taylor. How do you feel about that group?
I'm not sure that Tyrod Taylor. Well, I'm pretty positive actually that he's not going to end up being the guy for too long. I think he probably will be the guy to start the year, but I think he's got more weapons now, I guess. And
No, he's definitely got better weapons.
oh yeah. But I just don't see him playing necessarily the entire year. I think whoever they draft for a quarterback would benefit from him playing the entire year while they're still working things out. But I'm not sure that they're going to be smart enough to do that. So if he does play the whole year, then I think those are two really good fantasy quarterbacks. I think your dad doesn't seem to care about who's the top quarterbacks. He cares about what gets points in fantasy. Like I feel like he's a Watson kind of guy. If he could draft a rookie from last year, and as you see, Watson puts up big time points too. So I think your dad always knows. He likes the running quarterbacks. He likes the guys that get fantasy points. He doesn't care if they win or lose.
He likes that floor that you get from a running quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I wouldn't hate the idea of him drafting one of these rookie quarterbacks. Like he's sitting there in like the mid. The thing is, he's got all these picks down here. But if he's sitting here in round 10, and I don't know, Baker Mayfield is that go draft the guy. Just get somebody in there. Get Josh Allen or whoever the Browns draft to take over for your team once Tyrod Taylor's gone. I think he'll be fine at quarterback, whatever he does. But I think it's definitely time to start coming up with a contingency plan for when for the days after Tyrod.
Mm-hmm.
At running back, this is a really rough spot. How the mighty have fallen at running back. My dad used to have a really great running back group. Now he's still got DeMarco Murray, probably going to drop him, but he wants to see if he lands anywhere. So he's still a free agent right now. And then he's got Jay Ajayi, who was pretty good for Philly last year, and is a decent 9th round keeper. So he's got one running back. I think Jay Ajayi. I don't know if he's an RB1, but he's probably an RB2, and that's it. So he's got his first 4 rounds free.
That's why I'm not quite as worried. I think he needs to just go. He kind of did it last year. It didn't work out because he picked Paul Perkins and then a couple other guys that just didn't. Yeah, a couple guys that just didn't work. I think he needs to do the same thing and hopefully hit this time and just running back. First 3 picks. I would do that. I think he's got plenty of wide receiver help. He's got the quarterbacks, like you said, and he has Jimmy Graham, although he's not who he used to be. He's got Jimmy Graham as a tight end, so he doesn't have to be super worried about any other position. It's definitely I need an answer at running back, and I think that's what he's planning to do, and he's going to do that.
Yeah, he's got a really good draft pick. Should be right around 5th, 6th in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
At worst, there's a few guys ahead of him that are going to keep their players. So I think he has to get a stud there, and then a rookie maybe in the 2nd round, and then maybe even another rookie in the 3rd round. I think you're going to see. This is a good running back draft, but there's just so many. There's just so many teams that need it in our league. I agree. I'd definitely start running back, and then I start looking at other positions. But if it's close, I just go running back in that 3rd as well. Like you said, he needs another tight end, but we'll get to that here in a second. At wide receiver, Alan Hearns changed teams to Dallas. How do we feel about that?
I like it. I think for him, he gets away from the Bortles effect, so that's good for him too. I feel like that's going to be kind of a mess in Jacksonville, so I'm glad he got away from it. I think it definitely wouldn't have been as good of a keeper for your dad if that had happened. I think we have to wait and see what happens with Dez. I know he's supposed to talk to Jerry Jones or something. I'm not sure what happened with that.
That's today.
That's today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if he's gone, then Alan Hearns skyrockets, in my opinion. Maybe not too high, but I think he could be a wide receiver too if he's the only guy there in Dallas. Um, I think Dallas is also going to draft someone. So I mean, that rookie it could end up being the guy to get. But I think he's definitely in a good situation. Um, I'm not so sure of Prescott anymore. I think the season's going to tell us if he's for real or not. I hope he is, but I'm kind of feeling like he's not going to be. But if he is, then I think Alan Hearns could be a new best buddy for him to throw the ball to.
Well, in regards to Dak Prescott, he's actually the most accurate quarterback in the NFL last year on tight window throws.
Yeah, I mean he's got
It basically means
his
the receivers
moments.
weren't getting any separation.
Yeah. So Alan Hearns is a fast guy. Maybe he'll be the one to do that.
He's a tall guy too, 6'3",
Yeah.
which I didn't know until recently.
Yeah, do you think of like a guy who's kind of like an undrafted pick? You think he's like some short,
I
like,
would
fast
have
guy?
bet you money that he cut a similar figure to like Randall Cobb.
Yeah,
Like having seen him play a couple times, he's still very slight, and it's just I don't know. I never thought of him as like a big receiver, but I guess he is. DeAndre Hopkins is a top 5 receiver, obviously. Alshon Jeffrey is a great number 2. Devin Funchess and Randall Cobb can kind of make a number 3, 4. Like this is a great receiver group. Does he need to do anything here?
I mean, I feel like he's like I guess from after looking at Carlos' team, you kind of like, well, come on, it could be better, But I feel like it is a very good core. I think he's got more of a rotation going for him than Carlo has to worry about, which could be problematic on certain weeks. You bench the guy that has like a
Just
30
start
point
Randall
game.
Cobb
Yeah.
because those guys are gone in Green Bay.
So I mean, I think he's fine. I don't think he needs to do anything else. I think if he saw like that guy that he really wanted, maybe some new rookie wide receiver that he just has a really good feeling about, then go for it. But I don't think he needs to draft another one in this draft in this draft this year.
Okay. I mean, if he wants to throw a dart in the later round, whatever, but
Yeah.
he might be better off doing that at tight end or quarterback.
Yeah.
At tight end, he has Jimmy Graham, who, he's getting older. He's not what he once was, doesn't block, but he's a starting tight end in the UML. In a league where you start 2 tight ends, this dude, he's an every week start for you. Get him, go get one of those rookies I mentioned, or some vet that someone drops and just be done with it. Doesn't really have the draft capital. Once he spends all those picks on running backs, he's not really gonna have the draft capital to be worrying about, a sleeper tight end, So
Yeah.
you just got to go get somebody. That round 8 pick, if he gets rid of DeMarco Murray, that would be a really good spot to just go. He won't be available, but go grab a Cameron Brate or something.
Yeah.
Go get a guy who's going to catch 50 passes for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's what you need.
And on Jimmy Graham, I hate him in Green Bay though. I really do. I feel like it's a little troublesome, but I mean he's still going to be fine. It's a good keeper, but he's definitely it's definitely a worrisome situation because if everybody always assumes when you go to Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers throws to everyone, but he really doesn't use his tight ends that much. So I don't know. I think Jimmy Graham could change that, being the prolific player he is, but a lot of times they don't get a lot going to their tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, not really since Jermichael Finley has there been a great Packers tight end for fantasy. So,
and even then, he was streaky as hell.
Yeah,
I owned him because I remember.
Is this a playoff team in 2018?
I think those first 4 picks could easily make him a playoff team. He's got the wide receivers core. He has the maybe quarterbacks for most of the season.
We know he's going to work the waiver wire.
Yeah, so I think he's definitely. I mean, he practically made it last year. He just barely missed out. But yeah, I think he's a playoff team next year. He's always in the hunt.
Dope. All right, let's see. We got a few minutes here. Have we done the Murder Muppets on this show?
No, we haven't.
Oh,
Did we do Carlo yet?
We did
You
Carlo
did
first
Carlo,
today.
right? I'm trying to think if we forgot anybody, but I think
Yeah, no, we haven't forgotten anyone. I just wanted to make
yeah.
sure we do the murder bumpet since that's my team. What
Okay.
do you think about my quarterback situation here?
Well, Doug, I have to look down at the screen because I didn't do. You've got Mahomes there.
Yep, Mahomes.
I think he's going to be pretty good.
I do too.
I'm a little bit of a believer in him. I think for them to just dump off Alex Smith, there's got to
Especially the
be
way
some
Alex has
talent
played
there.
last year too. You know,
Yeah, so I think they're really excited about it. So I think he's going to do well. He could kind of flounder a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be too bad if he does. I think he's still going to be pretty solid.
nice.
I kind of see him as just below Garoppolo and the hype train
Yeah, he'll
with
throw more
being a
picks than Garoppolo.
yeah. So, but I think they could be two guys we're going to be talking about a lot in the future. Definitely,
Nice. I have a really
along
weird.
with Watson.
Yeah,
Not that
absolutely.
weren't all drafted the same year,
Right, but they all kind of came on at the
but they
same
all
time.
come at the same time.
The issue with this team is like I need a quarterback, but with the way my keepers line up, I'm not getting one.
Yeah.
So, what would you do in a situation like this where I'm basically not going to be able to get a quarterback until probably round 11?
I'd try to draft a rookie. I don't know, but with where you're going to be drafting, I'm not sure. You're going to have to take that like Derek Carr prayer and hope it works out, like many
Mason
people are doing.
Rudolph or something, or maybe
Yeah,
just take Sam Bradford, who's like the most boring quarterback ever. He's available he's
just
the new
hope.
Jay Cutler. He's available in every draft, and someone just takes him when they don't get the guy they actually want.
Yeah, but it's all because he can't play the whole year. He's kind of. I mean, he's still when he plays, he puts up points.
Yeah.
Although Jay Cutler did too, I guess. I
Yeah,
guess Jay Cutler just gets hurt and on the field as if like he was out a couple games, but he actually played and just threw a ton of picks. So I guess it equals out.
But yeah, definitely a position in need. What about this running back group? Kareem Hunt, Carlos Hyde, Derrick Henry, and Matt Breida. Carlos Hyde did change teams to the Browns.
Carlos Hyde, I think, is going to do fine. A lot of people are getting worried about it. But I think he's going to have a solid year. I think he's not going to fall into that Crowell hole. I think it sucks for Duke Johnson. I think he's on the way out, which after he put up a season like last year, I think he was like kind of coming into form, and I don't think they're going to use him the right way because Carlos Hyde can catch the ball a little bit himself. I think they're going to use him as a 3-down back.
That was really surprising last year because I mean, like there was never anything to suggest that. I love the narrative that certain like professional running backs can't catch the ball. You know, like the pro athlete can't catch a football. You know,
it's like they've never tried it. They're a running back. What are you talking about? They
he's just
run with the ball.
He's just gonna break his leg trying to catch it. You know, but Carlos Hyde did do well last year doing that in that pretty bad San Francisco offense. If they do draft Saquon Barkley, it'll make me think about whether I'm going to actually keep Carlos Hyde here. But I don't know that you pay Carlos Hyde $6-7 million and then go draft a running back at number 4. And if they go the other route and just take Bradley Chubb or something, pick 4, and they end up going with a running back in the second round, Carlos Hyde is a good enough running back where he'll keep a second round rookie off the field for part of the season.
Yes.
It's kind of like the Tyrod Taylor situation. Like if the Browns draft a quarterback like Josh Allen, who's a bit more of a raw prospect, he's not taking Tyrod Taylor off the field because Tyrod Taylor's not going to make mistakes. He gives you a better chance to win right now. And I think it's a similar, same team, similar effect with Carlos Hyde. But what about the rest of this group?
I think it's unfortunate for Breida. I feel like the signing and the amount that they gave to what's his name there?
Jerick McKinnon.
I feel like they know he's not the guy. Like I think there was for a brief moment last year, people were thinking like, oh, maybe Breida's like going to be the lead back for this team eventually. I don't think he's ever going to be that guy with the way that they've done things.
I mean, if he's not good enough,
I think he's still going to get touches.
Like,
yeah, he's going to get touches, but I don't think he's going to be what maybe you were hoping for or what people had expected possibly for him. I think he's going to be a backup for the majority of his career or his whole career.
He might end up being a Jerick McKinnon like player. We're here in a couple of years. He'll go to a new team and then he'll there'll be things. The thing is, though, if he's not good enough to take Jerick McKinnon, because I think Jerick McKinnon's an average NFL running back. If he's not good enough to take Jerick McKinnon off the field, then he's not really good enough to have in fantasy. We'll see what they do in the draft. If they go and take someone in the second round, which I don't even think they have a second round pick because I think they traded to the Patriots for Jimmy Garoppolo. But if they end up taking a running back in the second round, I think I'll probably end up just dropping him, just because that's just it gets a little crowded back there, and he's got a similar skill set to Jerick McKinnon. But this is the same offensive coordinator that had Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman both be top 15 running backs a couple of years ago. So.
Which is more reason why maybe after this year, Tevin Coleman will be in San Francisco.
You could see that. And if that happens, Matt Breida is
he's
out
toast.
of the Muppets like you wouldn't believe.
Then obviously you know how I feel about big bruising running backs, Doug. I don't draft them. So, you're Derrick Henry. I hope it works out for you, but I don't.
He's such a savage, though.
Yeah.
Like they have to watch their team play football. I mean, did they not watch those playoff games? Those playoff games?
I don't know. Deion Lewis is there. He's going to at least tarnish half of the season for your hopes of Derrick Henry.
He'll be in there just to get enough carry stuff where Henry doesn't do that well. And then Kareem Hunt, we expect to be back to form in 2018.
As long as Andy Reid doesn't screw it up. I mean, he's talked about how he still wants to use the backup there. As if Kareem Hunt wasn't amazing looking. I think Kareem Hunt has some worries, but he's just too talented. I'm not that worried. I think
and a lot of stuff that was happening last year, it was like they weren't giving him the ball, and it was shit got weird in Kansas City last year for a little while.
And now with all this Mahomes hype, maybe they're going to be all about throwing the ball.
Yeah, it's a Tyreek Hill, and then they signed Sammy Watkins.
They Sammy Watkins. Yeah, they want to show off those new pieces.
So I think they really believe in Patrick Mahomes, which is cool. At wide receiver, it's kind of rough. I got Tyreek Hill, who's a great player, but then only Pierre Garçon.
I think you've got two of the complete opposite sides of the spectrum guys. You've got a guy who's streaky as hell, and you've got a guy who just catches the ball every time for like eight different times in one game. And Pierre Garçon.
Do you what kind of a season do you expect Pierre Garçon to have with Garoppolo? Because they didn't have a whole lot of overlap last year.
I'm just I'm gonna have to see how he looks in the preseason. Make sure not that the injury necessarily was super gruesome or anything, but he is getting up there in age. You got to see if he lost a step at all. But I think he's going to be fine, and I think having Garoppolo can only be helpful, especially with the kind of player that he is. I think Garoppolo's going to love that.
It was a neck injury for Pierre Garçon.
It was a neck injury, yeah. So I mean. I'm just worried about the age and the injury. I think he might lose a step, but I think he can still have a solid year. I wouldn't put him up as a wide receiver 2 or anything. I'd say he's a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, if they go and draft someone in the first round, I might put him back. But I think, maybe not though. He's like a rookie receiver is not taking Pierre Garçon off the field if he's healthy.
Yeah,
I mean he's a good technician, so. He'll take whoever the other receiver is. He'll take him off the field. Pierre Garçon, I think, could be good. Like I thought he was good for me last year when he was healthy. So we'll see.
He's great for PPR.
Want that draft pick, but there's just this huge block here in the middle of my draft that kind of, I'm probably not going to get any better players than the guys I have there, but it's rough.
That's where. The teams that have those late round great picks are the teams that you see in the playoffs, Doug.
That's true. It's bothering me. I gotta shrink Joe's thing down here. Okay. So I think that's it. What do you think? Is that
we covered everybody, right?
Yeah, that's everyone who gets a state of the franchise. Connor, thanks so much for coming by the show. Do you have any last words?
Can't wait for the draft. Hopefully none of my guys get screwed over like Gio Bernard back in the day when they drafted Hill. Nobody wants to see that. So I'm excited for the draft to come. I mean, still half a month away?
It was 2 weeks from yesterday.
2 weeks from yesterday. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully nobody gets their team.
You going to join us for the UML draft live stream?
No, I don't know. I'll have to see if I'm available.
do a live podcast. It's 8 p.m. Eastern next 2 weeks from yesterday.
All right.
So it's the 26th.
I'll try to be there.
Awesome.
I seem to be the one who's always here.
That's right. You bums.
But,
also, the Slack app, guys. If you need help getting onto the Slack app, please feel free to reach out. It's really not that difficult. Connor, tell him it's not difficult.
It's not difficult.
You heard him. It's really cool. You'll be able to type in like hashtag keepers, and it'll bring you to this keeper page. You can do hashtag rules, and it'll bring you to our handbook page. It's not integrated yet, just because ESPN hasn't launched 2018 fantasy football. But you'll be able to do hashtag and then CONN, and it'll bring you to Connor's roster page.
Or you can look at what a real team is.
You can do that, and that'll be integrated for all the teams. We'll have a trade block page for everyone where you can just post your trade block and just edit it as you go. So that'll be that. Oh wait, you know what, Connor? I think we have another team we have to do state of the franchise for.
Yeah, when you brought up it's not that hard and everybody needs to get on Slack, I thought of the person who's the most incapable of doing that, and that would be my father.
He's gonna love Slack. You're gonna be able. You can type in like /GIF or GIF or whatever it is. And like,
you think he's gonna figure that out? I don't know.
I don't know. So I think he's gonna love it because you can type in /GIF and then be like, Cowboys rule or something, and it'll show like, and it'll automatically generate like a meme of Des Bryant dancing or something. It's really cool. So that's why we're going to Slack. Anyway, let's talk about Kevin's team, I guess. I know he doesn't really like it when we talk about his team, but I feel like
he's very humble guy. Yeah.
Last year, Kevin, made it to the semifinals like he always does, and then lost like he always does too. What about his quarterback position there?
Well, before we start, I just have to give a small in memoriam to good old Danny Woodhead, who we'll never have to hear about again from my dad. He has chosen to retire.
Oh man, Danny Woodhead.
No more updates about his injury.
Yeah,
no more back to practice.
He's back to practice. It's like, Kevin, no one cares.
So, Danny Woodhead, you were beloved by my father, but your time has ended.
That's true. Man, and now his watch has ended. At quarterback, he's got Drew Brees still in the first round. It's a steep price, but he's always been worth it. And he's got Dak Prescott. What's up with this quarterback group? Is Drew Brees in the first round a bad move?
I think this has been his biggest. This is where if he gets rid of Drew Brees, that kind of shifts his entire mentality for his team. I'm waiting to see that moment. I guess he still hasn't chosen to do it, and I don't blame him. I mean, with the first three picks, he has one of the top quarterbacks, the top running back, and the top wide receiver. I mean, yeah, your first three picks are shot, but I mean, you can't really do much better than that.
Yeah, and honestly, if you flipped Brees and Brown, we're not having this conversation. So, it's not the end of the world. But he could trade Brees to Carlo for Odell Beckham Jr.
He could. I don't know if Carlo would do that.
Carlo shouldn't do that, but in theory he could. But I mean, this is one of the better quarterback groups in our league, I think.
Yeah, I think Prescott was like a saving grace. It really justifies him still having Brees, because he's got the two top-notch quarterbacks that are going to put up numbers for him.
Yeah, it's like having them both in like rounds like 7 and 8 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, I get why he's keeping Brees. This team's a championship contender. Spoiler alert, but.
I mean, you got to think, how many years has it been? He's got to get it one of the times, right? With this roster.
He just gets so close.
I don't know what he's doing wrong, but he can't get there.
It's hard to win the in this league. It's very competitive at the top, and then every year, you have teams that like no one wants to give respect to, like Pat, and he just comes in like he was the 1 seed in the playoffs last year, and like it's like
because he beat my dad. Always remember that. And then I also beat my dad in the playoffs. I think it's the second time.
I remember when Kevin was undefeated and was
that didn't last.
I want to hear the end of it.
Who did he lose to? Was it AJ?
Yeah, it was AJ.
That's right. Yeah, it was AJ.
At the time, the reigning toilet seat champion.
Yeah.
That's Steve this year, if you guys are wondering.
Watch out, Dad. Steve's on the hunt.
Hey, Steve's got a team this year.
I know. I'd love to see that happen again.
But at running back position, you got Lev Bell. Obviously, you mentioned it. He's at worst like the fourth best running back in the NFL.
Yeah. And we've seen him not play all the games. We've seen him hold out, and he still gets there. He's just
like
a freak.
I'm not worried about Lev Bell. When healthy, he's a star.
Mm-hmm.
After that, Chris Thompson, James White, who are I've never seen them in the same place at the same time. Again, I actually assume that they're the same exact person, rather than just guys with similar skill sets. I mean, they're both startable running backs in our league. But I think this is actually a position of focus for Kevin in this draft. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, with Woodhead, and we make fun, but he was kind of that pass catching guy that kind of shored up his team. I mean, Thompson's great. He's kind of the new Woodhead, in my opinion, except a little more athletic. But he's never going to be a top guy, and he's very injury prone. So it's not the best thing to have as
is he that injury prone, or was it like?
Well, it was also because he had to do it.
20 carries, and it's like no.
Yeah. So I mean, he was doing it without getting that many carries. So I think he's going to be a nice pick. I think he's going to do great. And White now, without having Lewis, and with the Gillislee project failing, and now probably the Hill project that they have going on now is going to fail too, I'm sure.
They still have Rex Burkhead.
They do. So I think White's going to be the goal line guy. I mean, they've used him in the goal line in the past.
Jeremy Hill's going to be the goal line guy.
I don't think he's going to make the team.
James White is like.
I mean, they're going to have to get somebody.
He's not going to be the goal line back.
He gets goal line touch. Not at the 1 yard line, but I mean, if they're first and goal at the 10, they'll do a little sneak pass.
Like they did the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they do it often.
Yeah, they'll both catch enough passes to be low end running back twos. I think
what we saw though is last year we looked at his running backs and we weren't all that worried because he had Woodhead, and at round 4 he had Frank Gore. So at round 4, I'm sure he's going to get something of that same caliber, and I think he'll be all right. The problem is it's just that never-ending cycle where he's got those first 3 picks taken, and then at the 4th round he has to take some middling running back. And yes, it's good enough, but every year it's the same story.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think this is one of those teams that I don't think should. I mean, obviously, if you like a guy, you like a guy, but this isn't a team that I think should focus on rookies. Like this team's in the championship window. Like if in 3 years you win 3 games, you're not going to care if you win this year.
Yeah.
Like don't take some team's 3rd round draft pick running back because you think he might be good next year. No, you need him to be good in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a guy like Frank. I mean, don't take Frank Gore again, but
not now, but
Jeremy Hill on the Patriots. Or
I'm telling you, he's not making the team, Doug. I'll bet you on it.
He's gonna make the team, bro. I think he sucks personally, but but he can go get a guy. He can get
He's got round 4, and now he's got round 5 open. He's got room.
At the wide receiver position, he's got T.Y. Hilton and Antonio Brown. Those guys are stars. And then Emmanuel Sanders is definitionally a number 3 wide receiver. And then Marvin Jones, Mohamed Sanu. I don't like the keeping of Mohamed Sanu there. I think it's kind of the same thing with Chris Hogan. I think he's a replacement level wide receiver. But then you have Marquise Lee. I don't think he needs a draft receiver at all.
Yeah, I actually love what he has. I mean, Jones and Sanders can put up wide receiver 1 numbers on given weeks, and to have, if Andrew Luck is back, Hilton is going to be unstoppable with Brown, and then with Sanders now having at least a actually startable quarterback for once for Denver, I think Sanders is going to look much better. I really love it, and I actually do like Sanu there. I think I've watched, because I love watching, or had loved watching Freeman. Whenever I watch those games, Sanu wasn't just, kind of like a secondary piece. They loved using him. And I think that he's a great keep at 14 to me. I actually love that keep. So I disagree with you there.
Okay. I mean,
I don't love Lee at 15. I think it's going to be a mess there, but I don't think it was a bad keep. Why is it going to be a mess? There's just a bunch of guys, and we don't know the roles. I mean, they've signed guys, they've kept guys.
But there's fewer guys there this year than there was last year. And Lee was good.
Yeah, but they had their set roles. Allen was the guy. Lee was the secondary. I think it's going to be a mess.
I actually like Lee at 15 better than Sanu at 14. So just because Hearns is gone, Robinson's gone, it's Marquise Lee, Dede Westbrook, and like Keelan Cole, and those guys all have. I mean, Keelan Cole is a downfield threat. Dede Westbrook is more of a traditional wide receiver one prototype. He's not obviously hasn't earned that title yet, but
well, let me put it this way then. I guess saying it was a mess isn't the best thing. It's a mess because they have Blake Bortles throwing.
Well, it's
the
also
ball.
Blake Bortles. Yeah,
That's
you should have led
clarify. Yeah, that's what I should have led. So I mean, like with Sanu, he's going to get the ball. They have Matt Ryan. He's a great quarterback. With Lee, he's got to fight for that catch because they aren't going to throw the ball much.
True. Tight ends: Njoku, Reed, Walker. Elite group, in my opinion. And he's got Njoku to take over for Walker when Walker finally, falls off.
Or if Reed finally just crumbles into pieces and they can't put him back together finally.
Yeah, like it wouldn't. There's not that many things that need to happen for him to have no tight ends. Delaney Walker could be 100 years old and just die, right? Jordan Reed is going to get hurt. We know this, and then David Njoku could just suck. Like they're there's not. It's not that far of a leap to say that he could be without any tight ends like in 1 year. But as of now, this is one of the the best.
Yeah, but that being said, I see Walker as kind of that Antonio Gates kind of guy. He's just going to keep working it, and he's going to play for not a long time, but he's going to play further than we thought he's going to play. Whether he's going to be fantastic for all those years, he might really start to let up, but I think he wants to play for as long as he can.
Yeah, he'll be a tight end one this year.
And then Njoku didn't. I mean, it was his first year. Usually, tight ends, unless you're Ingram, are never good in their first year. But I think he's got freak build, and I think he's going to be very good, especially if they draft one of those top quarterbacks, which I don't see why they're not. So I think that's going to be an awesome pairing for maybe the next 5-6 years, whatever that quarterback's going to be. And Njoku has this safety net that could be a great tight end.
You put a good quarterback on that team, and that's a really good offense all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. They even they needed a tackle because they lost Joe Thomas, but they even have a good offensive line.
Yeah. And then you have Coleman and Gordon, and as those wide receivers. Yeah, and Jarvis Landry it's really good.
Yeah, and then they have Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson.
I guess if there was ever a moment to know if Taylor was actually a really good quarterback or not, we're going to find out this year because there's.
I think Bill. This is one thing I like Tyrod Taylor, but I think Bills fans are right about Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah,
and everyone always wants to say why are Bills fans so hard on Tyrod? It's because Tyrod Taylor is the hand job of NFL quarterbacks. It's fine, but you know what I really want, don't you? And
no, thank you.
I don't. Like Tyrod Taylor is, unless you have a supremely talented team around him, is never going to get you there. Mm-hmm. And most quarterbacks will get you somewhere with the. I mean, Blake Bortles went to the AFC title game and almost beat the Patriots because the rest of his team was so good. Yeah. And I'm on record. Blake Bortles sucks. So, that's that. I think Kevin is a Final Four team once again this year. Do you have any disagreements with that?
I don't.
It could. But this team, like we said, with the tight ends, it's not that far from some bad shit happening to it. If Lev Bell leaves the Steelers for a big contract and goes somewhere else, Drew Brees retires. There's not that many things that have to happen for this to go from a contender to the first choice tournament. But that said,
I do think Brees.
You can't draft a freak.
I do think Brees will play out his last 2 years. The problem is, are you necessarily going to want that? Because although he's still a capable quarterback, they're clearly going in the running back direction for a reason. They want to do it. People look at last year and they say New Orleans, they weren't that great. But I mean, that's because they had the slow start at the beginning of the year, but they really picked it up. And I mean, they were a bullshit Hail Mary Minnesota play away from going up against the Eagles, and who knows what could happen in that game.
No, they definitely would.
They could have been a Super Bowl team.
They weren't going to lose like 34-7 when Drew Brees is their quarterback.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that they saw success with that run game, and I don't think that's going to stop. So that's where Drew Brees, as good as he is, and as capable as he's going to be to put up that 350-yard game now and again to really to give them that win. I think that he's going to be kind of more middling now because they aren't going to need him. I think that's something to think about for those last 2 years on Brees' contract, because I do think he'll play them. It's just, do you want that when his last 2 years happen?
Yeah, Kevin's got 5 draft picks. He can legitimately spend them all on running backs.
Yeah, everything else is covered.
Yeah, and
he always has it covered.
And maybe he should. I just think this is. I mean, I'm not like this team will be right there at the end. It's we've said it before.
He's the king of getting bye weeks.
Luck gets you a title. So
he's king bye.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have to get that bye again, because I don't know that he's going to go and beat you and Carlo, or you and Pat, or Pat and Carlo, or me and you. Since I'm going to be in the mix.
Oh yeah, okay, we'll see about that.
Hey, I was the best team to miss the playoffs last year. I think 1, 2, 3.
I think Pat was.
I beat him though, so I'm ahead. We had the same record. But anyway, like that was with an expansion team. I'm coming for it this year, Connor.
Oh yeah, okay.
But yeah, I think Kevin, like, he's gonna be tempted to take rookies, because obviously rookies are what build your team for the long term.
I mean, he's had success too. Njoku and Prescott have really worked out for him to kind of give him some longevity. But yeah, he needs. I mean, with that 4 and 5, he needs to just get the best available running back.
Yeah,
he does not have to think hard about it. He just needs to get the best available running back. Those 2 picks. No matter.
Do you do a trade if you're Kevin? Like, do you trade? Like for just like, do you trade if you had it open? Do you trade to Joe for like Jerick McKinnon, or like go get?
Definitely go that route. I mean, I remember when I was in the playoffs semi consistently. When I had Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, I ended up trading half my team to get better. I mean, I think with his team being what it is, you look at what's worked and then you think, but it really hasn't, because I haven't won. So maybe I do need to, trade things off. It's definitely a possibility he needs to think about.
Yeah, it's kind of like the NBA in that way, where like you'll see a team just blow everything up because it's like, okay, we're not going to get there like this. And being constructed like this is preventing us from growing. So
it's kind of like my dad somehow somewhere signed Carmelo Anthony to his team, and he's just never going to win because he has Carmelo Anthony there.
It's like he's taking up enough money where you can't go get other people, and he's keeping your young guys off the court because he's better than they are right now, and like it's one of those situations. But I mean, this is a veteran team. Veteran teams can win in this league. We've seen it happen. But I think
more often than not, in a way.
Yeah, but the thing is, with only having 4 draft picks, his margin for error, or 5 draft picks, is so narrow. Mm-hmm. 4 draft picks. I was right the first time. I mean, he could very easily miss on all of them, which is why I agree with you. He should take a proven commodity at 4 and 5. Like if I throw back Carlo's side, like that's a guy he should take. A guy that can start for him, and just he's a good player. You don't have to worry about him suddenly being bad at football.
Yeah,
like the way you would with a rookie. And it's that's tough, because it's tough to not take rookies when because I mean I draft a ton of rookies, as do you and as do a lot of the guys, but he's got to draft like Alex this year. So
just sit next to Alex, see what he's looking at, be like, oh, that's what I'll take.
Ooh, Larry Fitzgerald, you say? But yeah, I think that's it for keepers. I think that's everyone's done everyone that's done their keepers. Guys, remember, if you do your keepers, we can do a state of the franchise for you, and we will have a live stream up during the NFL draft on Thursday, April 26th. Connor says if he can be there, he will. It's open to anyone. You can come and go. You don't need to stay the whole time, and it'll be a lot of fun. I'll be getting drunk on delicious beer, and maybe even getting some wing wangs. But there is something I've talked about a little bit in the chat. It's we're switching from a paper draft board this year to FanDraft fantasy football draft software. And let me go ahead and show off my screen share here. So FanDraft fantasy football software, basically, we're going to project it up on a big TV that if anyone wants to volunteer their big TV for it, that'd be great. If not, we can always just rent one from like Rent a Center or something. I'm not really sure how all that works, but I'm sure it's not that difficult to do. But anyway, it allows you to, that's why we need walk-up music, because it lets you put music that plays when you're on the clock walking up to the podium. It puts little pictures up of the player. It'll have your logo on there that we designed. I hope everyone liked theirs, by the way. And it'll have little pictures of you before the draft. It'll be playing like the dun, 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 like Monday Night Football music and all that. And then it'll have little blurbs. It'll say, Connor, the Vazzy fullbacks went, I don't know, what was it, like 10-4 last year or whatever it was, and then lost in the UML championship game. And then it'll give the score. Some of this all-time record stuff will be available to use and all that. This year's version hasn't even come out yet, so hopefully there'll be some cool new features. But we're going digital, and it even has a companion app where like Joe will be able to download it. I think for $5, and he'll be able to make his picks in real time and follow along the draft in real time. It might be useful for some of you guys that are at the draft, but we're actually going to not allow you to use it at the draft just because we need the internet connection at my parents' house to be non-disturbed. So that's that. What are your thoughts, Connor, on going digital?
I think it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm getting the software like the day it comes out in May, and I'm going to play with it a bunch. And if it's really stupid and doesn't look as good as it does in the video, then you can just buy a draft board. It's not the end of the world. What else is there? There's that. The Steins we're going to do this year is going to be the UML logo on a big beer mug. And there's going to be a keg at the draft, or maybe 2 small kegs at the draft. You'll be able to just go fill up your Stein. Like badass.
Sweet.
Drink lots of beer. Food, whatnot, all that. Yeah. You got any questions about any of that, Connor?
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm game. I'll be there.
It's going to be legit AF. What do you think about the logos?
I liked them. I think I switched mine to the background color to green, and I think it's awesome. You can see my logo on my, what is it called again? Slack? Yeah. I don't even know the name of it, but I have it. And I made my logo on there. You can see I switched it to green for the background. I think it looks pretty sweet. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, it's actually Katie did most of those. I found the pictures for her, and then she kind of photoshopped them into color. I gotta say, I liked yours better when it was a Browns logo.
Yeah,
yeah. I thought it fit really well with Fozzie.
I guess, but I just don't want to be put together with the Browns. Come on.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that picture and it had a brown background, I was pretty happy about it, and I actually tried to change it to like Browns orange. But it looked stupid, so I couldn't do that. I really thought Tim's was really good. I feel like I liked who's I like? I liked speaking of Browns. Well, I guess it's Bears colors. I liked Steve's. You really like Steve's that much? I thought it was Steve's too memeish.
It's like class. It's like classic a little bit. I like it.
That was cool. What did you think about the letter logos? Because those ones were for the teams that were I
wanted to see a goddamn queef on that logo, Doug. Come on.
Did you ever see the shirt that I had made for Carlo?
The shirt.
Yeah, I made Carlo. So. Carlo did something and got a shirt for it, and it was a bright yellow shirt, and it had the silhouette of a woman like you'd see on like the back of like an 18-wheeler, and she was like her legs were like not like spread, but like the way she was standing was like open. She had a sign in her hand, and the sign said "Queef Wellington Fantasy Football." And
I do feel like I remember seeing.
And then there was like a big blast of air coming out of between her legs. So I wasn't gonna put that on there. I wanted them to look as legit as possible was kind of my goal for it. And so he ended up with the with like the Golden State Warriors QW looking thing. But I went through and I found like the breakdown, like the red, green, blue of all of the different team colors. Like for example, Joe's team was in Panthers colors. I went and like found like to the like you can change the colors and it's like 138 blue and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and found the exact colors for all those teams, and like that's like you have exact Celtics green behind yours now. For example.
Sweet.
Cool. So without further ado, that's going to do it for this edition of the Ultimate Man's League podcast, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or each other too. Most of you guys know what's going on. So if you're Kevin and don't know what's going on, feel free to reach out to someone who's not me. Connor.
Yeah, great. You just signed me up. Thanks.
That's right. It's Connor, thanks for joining us as always. And hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks here for the NFL Draft podcast.
All right. Hope to be there.
Konnichiwa, bitches.